All right, it is 5 minutes after the hour of 8 o'clock, and let's slide on over to Decker this morning. Good morning.
Good morning. Did you run Al off this morning?
I did. He has gone, believe it or not, he has gone to play with the kids out at South Middle School for the day.
Well, we'll let him ride then. That's
Yeah.
all right.
He went
How's
out.
everything else going?
It's going just fine. Just fine. We're going to let him play today.
All right, well, that's fine.
So
Well,
what you got for me?
good-looking fourth graders up here today with us.
Fourth graders. All right.
I'll have them introduce themselves right quick.
Okay.
Tessa, Carissa, Vanessa, Faith, Shayna, Alexis.
Good morning, Franklin County, on this last full day of school. Please join us as we stand, salute, and pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. That was awesome.
That was great.
Yes, it was. Yes, it was.
Well, we're going to crank us up another award show and roll this on out, and we'll talk to you for the last time for a couple of months in the morning.
All right. You have a great day.
All right, thanks.
All right. And we have with us this morning Common Sense Matters, and we're going to, Miss Nancy, I'm going to turn everything over to you and let you introduce your guest this morning.
Thanks, Karen. This is Common Sense Matters, sponsored by the Franklin County Democratic Party. We try to bring to you helpful, informative information that's helpful to everyone in your everyday lives. Today is no exception. I'm so glad to have with us Miss Christine Hopkins, who's in charge of our county reentry program, and with her are two employees, Dale and Jesse, and they're all going to be telling us what they do at reentry. This, by the way, is such an uplifting thing for me to think about. I got it on my mind this morning. I worked for Christine for over a period of 2 years, part-time, after I retired from the clerk's office. And you have a whole different outlook on what they do when you work with people personally, one-on-one, coming out in and coming out of incarceration, and what they do that helps people and families and help people to be productive citizens. And they have setbacks, they have people that get in trouble again. Their days are full of some heartbreak, but they just keep at it. Christine also, when you go out down Shore Boulevard, you see our TCAT building going up. Think Christine Hopkins, I think of her every time I go by there. Somebody ought to write a book, Christine, about 11, 12 years that you worked on this nonstop. Different administrations, state, county, everybody she could deal with.
Maybe
she
they could just write a book on Christine Hopkins.
On Christine Hopkins, yeah. And she was honored, by the way, by being selected Citizen of the Year last year, December. Yeah, that was a good thing. Of course, I know and got my mind really on, of course, education. That means so much to all of us, and the technical aspect of it that we hear so much about. But this, the reentry part, and thinking of Christine, I know what really honors her is being able to see people that they help down there get out and go to work and be productive citizens. That's what warms Christine's heart, and Jesse and Dale, I know. We want to I want to mention on the technical school also, that this thought came to mind also. I think when Christine hopefully drives by that building, she thinks of the many students that are going to come out of there, knowing, being able to get better jobs in today's society because of that building. And thank you, Christine. And I will turn it over to you to just tell us what you want to. What do you think people need to know out there this morning about about reentry and TCAT?
Well, I'll go first into the TCAT, the Tennessee, which stands for the Tennessee College of Applied Technology, and I will say reentry because I would like for our two folks that work very hard every day in this program, Dale and Jesse, to talk about their individual areas that they serve in. We do have other staff that today they're actually in a job fair meeting a lot of other companies, and but first I want to talk about a little bit about the technology college. It did take a period of approximately 10 years before we actually received approval for the TCAT, and administrations did change. And every time administrations changed, then we had to go back to the drawing board. And you all gave me entirely too much credit. There were a lot of other people helping me in this. But especially there were 2 or 3 people that stood out. Randy Boyd, that actually ran for governor, was the person that actually helped us to find the money to make this happen. And Senator Janice Boland, can't say enough good things of how she went to bat for us in that regard. But there were a lot of folks helping. On 3 different occasions, Nancy, we went back to the employers of this county to get support letters. Because every time administration changed, then they had to write a new letter to whoever was in charge. And it was just amazing the support that we had, and I am so grateful to those employers because they were wanting so bad and needed so bad skilled, trained employees that they were willing to support it as much as they possibly can, and they are like me. They are excited that we're going to see. Hopefully, I visualize that the day we open, that it will be full, because we're getting a lot of interest and people are already contacting. I know they're contacting me even though I'm not the contact person. My job was to get it here, and I am still meeting with them to follow, but they are contacting us. So how do we get in? Because they do understand that there is a waiting list. And it's sometimes up to a year waiting list just to get into the classes. That's how sought after they are. But we're going to be offering industrial maintenance, which is a highly sought skill training program. We're going to be offering machine tool, which again is the standard of living. Both of those training areas are, you're talking $25, $30 an hour starting pay. And if we want to raise the standard of living in Franklin County, of which was one of the main things that I saw that we needed to do, then we're going to continue to seek these programs. We're going to have enough room. We devised the nursing program to have at least 40 people.
Wow, that's great.
In that at any one point. And right now we're choosing to offer the nursing program class at night simply because it will give that working person the opportunity to either change skills or upgrade their skills. And of course a dream that a vision that I have is hopefully eventually, and in talking with the president of the college, eventually maybe a bridge program where we could get the RN program as well as the LPN program.
That would be great.
Welding is another area we're going to be offering. And we're planning at this point, we had something like a $1.4 or $1.5 million left because the bids came in under, and we're planning hopefully to add an additional 5,000 square feet to what we've got. We will go ahead and complete the building as is. And of course, we had planned for that building to be completed October, November, and start classes maybe January. We're still looking for that. The 5,000 square foot probably will not be completed, but will complete the other. And then we have space on the back. We have been working with Montlow College to bring classes in. Folks like myself, I know, could benefit from taking a computer class.
Yes, we all need computer classes. I do for sure.
or some other kind of class. I don't know exactly. It needs to be based on what is the need in Franklin County from employers and in people who want to further their education. So if we have Montlow visibility and the Tennessee College of Applied Technology, we've got the best of both worlds.
That's great, Christine. That's just great. And I thought of you also as I was driving in, what you did and so many young folks did. You drove, I guess, to Murfreesboro, working. While you were working, you got your college education by having to drive to Murfreesboro, and of course.
And I think that could have been some of the driving force, because I did do it the hard way, and it took me 8 years, but I got a bachelor's and master's during the years and worked full time, and of course had children. So you can do it. I remember one particular semester I had classes in Murfreesboro, Columbia, and Montlow all at the same time. And I wouldn't advise anybody to work full time and take 9 semester hours, especially graduate work. But it can be done. And, I'd like to encourage the listening audience of this program. Set goals. Take 3 hours at a time. Just start.
Just start, right.
In something that you want to do and move forward, because you can make it happen when you get your desires and your dreams right, and
that's
just
great.
move
of course
forward.
You were commissioner of, I never can think of the state of Tennessee. You went up through the state, up through the ranks, and became a commission. Was it a commission?
No.
Commissioner. Okay,
Yeah.
I was thinking it was a.
Yeah. I was state director of the Tennessee Rehab Centers in rural areas across the state, from Elizabethton to Union City. And I drove back and forth from Winchester to Nashville daily when I accepted that position. I did come up through the ranks of the Division of Rehabilitation Services, having started as a counselor. As soon as I finished my bachelor's degree, I was a counselor for Coffee County, and I loved those years because I saw them in the doorway, and I was always been pretty determined I was going to rehabilitate them whether they wanted it or not.
And I personally admire people so much that did what you did, and there are others that, as you say, they go for years to school with kids, working full time maybe, and reach your goals, and that's wonderful. And I couldn't help but think of that also when I was thinking about you this morning. When do you? I know you don't know, but when do you think we'll be able to actually start accepting students here? Is that
our plans right now are January.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Because if they
great.
finish, now we're going to need. It may not be exactly January, and I don't want to leave the listening audience hanging out there that I'm saying it is. But right now, Laura Monks is president, and Miss Laura is president in Shelbyville. They're going to be overseeing this program, and she actually is going to be working with Franklin County at least 2 days a week. She lives in Fayetteville. I'm trying to get her full time. She's a wonderful person and is very open to add in programs that's going to meet the needs. But she's saying January, if they finish in October, November, then that would give us a couple of months. She's already ordered some of the equipment that we need.
Great.
Some of the equipment will come from already current programs that we were able to get Shelbyville Tech, that's already in the county, to move over. And She is going to be advertising, and I'll go ahead and announce it, for a welding instructor and a machine tool instructor next week. I think she told me
Wow.
that's when it's going to come out. Those are good positions. Hopefully, listening people, that if you have the qualifications needed, that we need the best instructors that we can possibly find, because like all teachers, it goes back to that person teaching the class.
Yeah.
And she's looking for people that's going to be on the floor with them, not letting them do their own work and not meeting with them. She wants someone who's dedicated and committed. You know, people who have retired as the machinist that have the qualifications. She prefers it. It's someone who is also has the training, preferably be in the area in which they're going to be teaching, the certification in that area as well.
Right. And when you said something about seeing those folks in the door and, needing jobs that you helped over the years, I remember you making the statement one time when I was working for you, I can help people get jobs. And of course, and I think, well, it was just such a drive. I think you were driven, sort of, and not sort of, you were. And of course, that led right into you then helping the hardest people out there to get jobs for, and that's folks coming out of jail. And that talk about dedication, your staff, and you got two of them here today. I was always so impressed with when I was working for you of the dedication and just the absolute personal care and interest that everybody would take in those folks who helped them at probably their lowest point in life, coming out of jail with nothing but the clothes on their back, and probably not even their clothes. But
well, the dedication comes from a personal story. When I was with the Division of Rehab, a young man that was totally paralyzed from the neck down, and I saw him go through college, bachelor's and master's, and eventually get his doctorate, turning every page with a mouse stick. And I was thoroughly convinced this young man, he was in an automobile accident, and it killed one young lady and severely injured him. But when I went to Nashville to take an application on him, at that time the doctors were saying that he would not become a productive citizen, of course, but he was like, felt like determination. You can almost do anything. But he did become very productive. We were able to place him. He went through school in the Division of Rehab, and then he went on to get all those other graduates. But when it came time to placement, I had contacted all of the high-end companies, and I went to AEDC and handed the application to a person, and they turned around and they put him to work as a computer programming. We won every award there was out there for somebody in achievement, but when you think about, at that time they were pulling the disk out of the computers as a computer programming. They stated that in letters that they submitted on him, that he saved them thousands and thousands of dollars. And he stayed a long, long time, and he eventually retired.
what about that? That is very, that's very inspiring.
If he could do it, anybody can do it.
Yeah.
And I don't have a lot of patience with people who says, I can't do this, I can't do that.
Right. Yeah. In case you just tuned in, you're listening to Common Sense Matters, and right now we have Miss Christine Hopkins talking about reentry and also our new TCAT school coming. You want to have your folks
I
chip
do.
in, Christine?
I do. I want to introduce the two people. Mr. Dale over there has been with us since almost I've started. We were the first rural reentry in Tennessee, which has given us a lot of recognition, both state and national wide. And he started, I think, within just a few months, or are you within a year, right, Dale?
Yeah, probably 2009, you had started 2007, so it was about 2 years after you started.
Yeah.
So I'm coming up on my 10-year anniversary here real quick.
Oh, that's great.
And Dale is lead instructor for the program. He does a lot of actually teaching. Miss Jessie here is our new kid on the block. She is she is a licensed master social worker working toward her clinical license, and I am so proud of her.
Oh, that's great.
She is a full-time counselor with the reentry program. The county chose to actually fund 3 of our positions. And in addition, of course, we have grants that are coming in that we write to add in growth into the program that we need, because a lot of the individuals we serve have a lot of problems, and we try to look at the person as a whole, not just teach a class and that's it, but to look at them and solve some of those problems. And we do the assessment. Right now we're doing the assessment to look at their needs and look at their risk to recidivate. And of course, our main goal is to lower the recidivism of Franklin County Jail and return productive citizens to this community for a safer community.
Right.
Because every time you rehabilitate someone and they become a productive citizen, this whole county does benefit,
Right.
and it is safer. And we have a board of directors, a governing board of directors. David Stewart is our chair of those directors, and they're actually they are a governing board, and they're very much interested in making sure that our program is doing what it's supposed to be. But I'm gonna, if it's all right with you, then I'm just gonna let them talk a little bit
please do
about their role and
I'm
what
gonna
they do.
mention something that is impressive. What y'all do at the Franklin County Jail affects everybody, not only the person, the families of those folks, but taxpayers. Every person that's in jail down there, the longer they're in jail, guess what? We're now having to add on to the jail. And when I first went to work for you, Christine, and actually worked in the jail, not in the clerk's office, I thought, gosh, we're America. Can't we do better than this?
Yeah.
And I saw the just the revolving door. And of course, what y'all do is such a challenge. And thank you. And I just had to throw out there the fact that this affects everybody out there, as not only a safer community, but taxpayers and.
Well, and most people know, Nancy, that starting this program was original thought of Sheriff Fuller when he was running and campaigning for the job. He made the statement that locking people up and throwing away the key has gotten us nowhere. He's been
Right.
very supportive of the program, and I just couldn't do without him. He does an excellent job, and we're really proud of what he does for this county. And of course, he's on the national board of
Yeah, that's
directors
great.
now of the Sheriff's Association. He's been president of the Tennessee Sheriff's Association. He's done a good job, and I'm very, very proud of him and his support that he gives us.
Yeah. Okay, you go ahead. I just had to put in my little 2 cents worth there.
Well, I'm going to turn it over to Dale and let him talk a little bit about what he does on a daily basis and what some of those classes that he teaches actually, they address.
Well, thank you, Christine. I appreciate that. We work good as a team. I think everybody has a part that we have to play to fill it in. I might mention something we don't think about much is that 95% of those people that are in jail right now are going to be released. And I guess we have an opportunity right now while they're here and with the follow-up after they leave to provide some things that they can get over some of the hurdles, some of the roadblocks that they have. As a lead instructor, I work with several curriculums. One is a job readiness curriculum. In job readiness, we do that in 2 parts. Not only about getting a job, which has to do with having a resume and doing interview techniques, it also includes about keeping a job. We haven't had hardly any problem getting people jobs. Our problem has come in for people keeping the job. So our curriculum also includes things about situations that they run into at work. It may be a complaint that they have, or they've been criticized, and then their emotions take over, and they either blow up or walk off of the job or whatever. So we're hoping that they will get the skills that can deal with those jobs once they actually get on the job. We've added a new curriculum this year called Victim Impact, and that's a victim focused, where they can realize that there is a real impact that they have on victims. And so we think that's good, and it's been well received by our individuals who are in our classes. And we do a 12-step program, moral recognition therapy, which helps them make decisions on a higher moral level, and raise that up to where they can see, yes, I can follow the rules. I am able to function, and hopefully not be coming back to the jail. And that's pretty close to what we're doing. Like I say, we have a case management, Miss Michelle Perkins, who works with us, that does that. With the also employed with the county, so she is doing some the job placement and all the case management and follow up for it. We follow them up for a 12-month time frame. So we're hoping to keep track of these and just kind of see, hopefully, that if we can get over some of those barriers, it will just help them not to come back. And also, like Christine said, it does result in a safer community when these people are going back with their families and into the neighborhoods.
MRT.
Yeah, moral recognition therapy, yes, which is a real help in decision making, and also looking at, what is their role, and not coming back to jail, and hopefully leading a productive life.
All of the classes, I will say, are evidence-based. We are an evidence-based program. We want to make sure that the research are behind all of these classes that we offer. In other words, best practices.
Right, your grants are pretty strict, aren't they? The grants.
Yes, very, very strict.
You have to toe the line and make reports, and
yes.
Yes, and you're good at that. Of course, you've written grants for years now. Everybody knows that when it's grant writing time, leave Christine alone.
That's right. Stay away.
Yeah, stay away at grant writing time. But it's just. But I have good memories of your operation down there.
Well, and next is Miss Jessie. I'm going to ask her to just talk a little bit about what she's seeing, how is it affecting. She's coming up with some really good recommendations. She's doing a lot of research on what is working across the nation. Of course, in Tennessee, we certainly do not have all of the counties doing reentry. This is in the rural areas. It has been a kind of a personal goal of mine, and of making sure that does happen. We just need to continue, but she knows what she's talking about in the field of mental health and substance abuse, and I'm just going to turn it over to her to talk about whatever she chooses in her role.
Well, yeah, I'm the mental health and substance abuse counselor. So my aim is to help our clients raise awareness of the mental health and the addiction issues that are kind of underlying the criminal behaviors that keep them coming back to jail. It's broken up into three main components. The first is just building their motivation, right? Helping them figure out, what do I really want out of life? And how are my addiction issues or my mental health issues getting in the way? And also, what is the connection between whatever mental health, emotional trauma issues I have and the substances that I'm using? You know, we see a lot of self-medication, people trying to medicate with illicit drugs and alcohol to treat these underlying issues. And the next component is a lot of alcohol and drug education and coping skills, right? trying to help them develop the tools that they need to manage these problems on their own without self-medicating. And then the last, and maybe the most important thing is, what are you going to do next, right? Once you're released, how are you going to continue to make these positive changes? So a lot of referrals, trying to get them to see counselors afterwards, or to get their addiction treatment issues addressed by going to maybe an inpatient rehab. Trying to get them connected with as many community resources as possible to be sure that they have the support they need going forward.
It's good. Miss Christine, what can we do to help these folks that are coming to Jesse that need mental health and addiction help, but don't have the resources to do it? And right now, the insurance help is not available to many of them. You got any ideas there what we can do to help remedy that situation under the circumstances?
Well, I'm going to ask Jessie to talk a little bit about actually some of the seriousness of some of the illnesses that she's seen in the need for treatment. I know right now there's a major push on mental health, but we've got to make it real. We can't continue to talk about it. And I guess at my age, and I'm certainly a long ways from being a spring chicken,
Me too.
but I've been around a long time, and I've seen it evolve over the years. The lack of attention, especially to people with mental illness. I know when I was a counselor, they were talking about these 42,000 people at that time in the nation, 42 million people with mental illness. Not 1,000, but million.
Million, yeah.
I have no idea now. I want her to talk about the numbers that we're seeing in the class, because they have to be sent us right now to come to class. We're about 400 yards from the jail, and just anybody, they have to be sent us, and any kind of an escape risk or whatever can't come in our classes at this point. However, I was so proud because the county they picked up 3 of our positions.
Oh, that's great.
Well, we know every time we can help make a productive citizen, and they're bringing money in, not taking money out, and we know that there's an investment there that I can't even begin to talk about, because it costs $59 a day to stay in jail. But they're going to work right now at 12 and 13 and 14. So with sufficient resources, and right now we're trying to help the jail because the medical cost has really increased this last year. That it's costing. There's a lot of different areas and why that increased. But I'm going to ask her to talk a little bit about the necessity for treatment. It may have to come after the jail incarceration time,
Right.
but there is a serious need, and we're starting to find some of these resources. They've been able to get a few of them in treatment for long term, and long term treatment is needed in some cases. So I'm just going to turn it over to her.
Okay. I would say easily 8 or 9 out of a 10-person group per reentry class is suffering from some sort of underlying untreated mental health disorder. What I have been more surprised by is there's actually a lot of pretty serious untreated pervasive mental health issues, things that we would consider chronic and things that really do require treatment. Schizophrenia, bipolar, things that actually impair people's ability to control their behavior or to understand reality. And so there's a really clear link here, again, with substance use. So many people have told me, drinking alcohol will keep me from hallucinating, or I have PTSD and I can't sleep without having nightmares unless I take Xanax,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And so we really can't hope to, to rehabilitate these people, especially in terms of drug use, until we're able to offer them a better solution, right? When people are suffering, they look for anything that they can to make them feel better. That's human nature. And until we have these alternatives, and we can help them manage those in ways that are pro-social, that are healthy for them, for their families, we're just going to keep seeing the same thing over and over again.
Yeah, of course, you can imagine what's running through my mind, because starting in that January of 2013, when they first started talking about the Affordable Care Act, I started studying it and trying to learn everything I could about it, because I knew it would be complicated, and it is. And of course, we do have the Affordable Care Act, but what we see is, and what you're having, are the people that are, quote, in the gap. They're coming out of jail. They have no income, because you have to be able to. By the way, now I'll say this: the folks that are coming out that get jobs, and most of them actually do. You file for the Affordable Care Act based on your estimated income for the year, and of course, for one person, that's around $12,000, a little more, I think. Now you have to be at least at the 100% poverty level, and of course you've probably dealt with all this, to get the Affordable Care Act, which, and we hear a lot of talk about it right now, takes care of pre-existing conditions. They can get insurance and have, get all sorts of coverage immediately, and there is a special enrollment period of 60 days for people coming out of incarceration, but, the income is a thing. And of course, we need in this state, and it's a political thing, Medicaid expansion, so that this 8 to 9 out of 10 folks could get the treatment they need. And of course, again, that just doesn't affect them personally or their families personally. If they wind up back in jail, well, guess what? There's your expense again. If they wind up going into a school and shooting a bunch of people, there again. It's a win-win situation to expand Medicaid so everybody can have coverage. But that's not how our Tennessee political winds are blowing right now. They are talking about block grants, but block grants don't do for people what if they just expand Medicaid like many states have. So let's just keep on working, and along the line of what you said, I took a sociology class when I took off to Botlow, Christine, and ended up getting my associate's degree. Actually, I took a sociology class, and in that class, I remember reading an account of the Chicago, I believe, a big old jail in Chicago, and the guy in charge, superintendent, I guess, made the statement that he ran the biggest mental ill institution in the country. And I haven't forgotten that. And of course, you see it. You see it in jail here. I do appreciate so much what you all are doing, because you're doing all you can. And that's what all of us just keep on doing, is plugging away. But maybe one of these days, we could get them covered by insurance. By
Well,
the
I
way,
think as we put them to work, Nancy, and of course Jessie spends a lot of her time convincing them, and I wanted her to kind of to go into detail about how long it takes to actually get the substance abuse once that starts. And of course, as long as they're, the diagnosis is there for the mental ill or mental illness, how long that takes. But we like to think in terms that we're there to save dollars, the cost of incarceration,
right,
and to save lives.
right,
Because for every time we can effectively help that person to find the treatment, whatever that treatment is, and become productive and start earning their own money. A lot of the companies we're working with has
They
insurance.
do, yes, they still do.
And they have a right to take that insurance. But if the pay is so low, they can't afford it. And but a lot of them are starting to do that. Now, one of the areas that I'm hoping we're going to continue to go, because when we first started this program in Franklin County, you barely could find a job at $7.25. Now we're looking at $12 and $13 and $14 an hour.
Well, good, that's right.
And we're seeing almost every industry is working with us. There's one or two because of security and so that they're hesitant, but most of them are, and some of them, I know JSP, that plant manager is on our board of directors, they've hired any number. Kasai has hired any number. Zanini, on and on and on. And a lot of even the small business, they're not reluctant. Their need for employees in this area and all across the state is so critical. And of course, Governor Lee made the statement in his inauguration that reentry is all about reentering society, not reentering prison.
Right, that's right.
And it's not unusual for a 25-year-old to have 19 or 20 times of incarceration. So I know right now we're spending a lot of times. We have some of our folks that come on board are working with Miss Jessie, and they're sharing all this research. But we're trying to find ways of where, either through the major companies that make all these drugs to start with, would so choose to lower the cost, that we can be effective in getting them into treatment. Because if it's not treated, if it's not addressed, the success is probably not going to be there on a long-term basis.
I noticed the term untreated
But if
cases, yeah.
if you think of all of the cycles that just one person becoming productive could affect their
Exactly,
children
right.
and their children's and their children on down through the cycles. And it's not just about that one individual. It's about their family.
That's right.
And their family's family.
I'm impressed with that. If I don't go down to drug court very often, but I usually go to their graduations, and you'll see in drug court, and it's touching, their families sitting there with them. And, maybe little children, maybe the children, and of course, that family has suffered and are so glad to see their loved one maybe graduate from drug court, or it affects. It's so sad, and but as you say, one by one, y'all are helping, and as you indicate too, employers. A lot of employers do provide insurance. That's
Right yesterday, I think it was, or no, I'm telling you wrong, Tuesday, I said on the budget hearing of the jail and the sheriff, I'd already had mine. And they were talking like on that particular day, it was 220 in our jail. It's a jail made for 114.
Yeah.
Of course, we're getting an addition on that, and we're going to be in it. But then when in our budget hearing, we have 3 positions, and with supplies, and our books are very expensive. The MRT books are $25 a piece. The Making It Work books are $11 a piece. And of course, on those, every participant has a book. So it's $185,000 that the county is actually contributing toward the reentry program.
that's great. That's
But,
great.
okay, in just about a 6 weeks period of time, because we actually got one of 4 state grants, I know, and then I was able to bring on a person who's concentrating solely on assessment. If you don't know where you are and know where they are, how do you know where you're going with these folks? And I wanted a lot of attention, and we've actually are changing assessment tool and everything to make that more effective. But when I was counting just the number in that 6 weeks or 2 month period of time that we had placed, it was over $400,000 alone in wages that were coming in if they stayed 1 year.
Yeah.
It was about between 7 and 8,000. Dale always helps me get these figures, so I know I'm 100% correct. That was coming in weekly. If that same number was up in the jail, some of them are trustees, some of them are not, but a lot of them are not doing anything.
Right.
You would find that almost the 400,000 it was costing.
Yeah.
When you put those two together,
Yeah.
when you look at 7 to 10% reinvestment on the dollar, that's how it pays.
Yeah.
And then there's no comparison to saving the lives and breaking
Well,
those
yeah,
family
right,
cycles.
Right.
So that's what it's all about.
That's what it's
that's
all
all
about.
about.
And I want to take a couple of minutes here to do what I'm really supposed to do at the beginning of the program, and I didn't do it. Is I want to say something about Betty Fraley. When our radio committee were getting together 2 or 3 months ago and scheduling people that we wanted to come, somebody asked me, said, "Nancy, would you interview Christine Hopkins?" I said, "Sure." And so I even called Christine, and we set up a date, and then, of course, we've changed it, I think. But anyway, then later, Betty wasn't there at that particular meeting. Later, she said, "Nancy," said, "I'd really like to do the program with Christine Hopkins." I said, "Sure," again, you know. I said, Christine and Betty go way back, and Betty worked.
Betty worked with us also.
Worked
You
for her
left just
also
to go back to
school.
college, yeah.
And because I wanted to work on my associate's degree, and but anyway, Betty wanted to do this today, but she had a nephew-in-law. Her niece's husband died in Memphis, so she's on the road to Memphis to a funeral, and so of course I was glad I know Christine too, and it was so just impressive to me and eye-opening to me when I started, even though being in the clerk's office 24 years, right across, working with people from the jail all the time, law enforcement officers, sheriffs, working with people like you all do, it's a totally different thing, and you get involved, and of course you just get personally connected with them, and you just care so much about them doing good. I'll mention also June the 22nd is the Democratic Party's state party, three-star dinner in Nashville, June 22nd. It's an annual thing. If you want to go, call me, 308-7150, and I'll tell you how much the tickets are. Not too sure really right now. And Betty Fraley reminded me on September 28th. This is a ways off, but put on your calendar September 28th. That is the George Fraley barbecue benefit or fundraiser. September 28th barbecue, sort of a benefit or fundraiser. So put that on your calendar, and I guess that's mainly what I got. Y'all got any questions out there? You want to call in and ask Christine or Dale or Jesse? It is a call-in program. I didn't think to mention that. You got about 7 minutes.
Nancy, I'd like to say something that I
yeah,
haven't
please
said. That right now we're starting to accept contributions for the TCAT. Like if there's families out there in honor of someone, or just want to make a however small it is, a contribution. Hopefully within the next few weeks we'll be setting up some kind of a foundation or whatever where they can do that. A civic organization or a town or an individual that would like to contribute. we're going to be needing quite a bit of equipment, and while the state did set monies aside for that, there's a lot of things. If they want to donate nursery stock, whatever.
Plant a tree.
Plant a tree and honor someone. I had a dream that, all the brick that came out of the old high school is in a pile somewhere over in the county, and I think I know where it is. I think someone told me where it is. That I know several people bought those brick. That, I know the Chamber of Commerce, folks who are doing an excellent job, they have like a garden with a brick. We are going to have like outside, if you'll see, there's a whole side that's being left off. The steel is not there. That's going to be all glass. So we're trying to make it look like something this county's going to be very proud of. But I can be found at the jail, if they call the jail. Right now that foundation is not set up, but if someone is interested and they get in touch with me, I'll make sure that's passed along, and we get the contribution in the right. It would actually be put in the technology account.
That's great.
But I did want to mention that I know there's a lot of people that really were pulling in supportive of this tech school and the need for it in this county.
Yeah, and it's just great that I did finally get it. Christina, you said that the county is funding some employees, and I think that's great. Have you been able to yet find a place in the jail that you could have a class without having to take them down to your place? When I was there.
Oh, they're building. They've built us. It's going to be twice as big, almost. We're going to be able to hold twice as many employees.
Oh, that's
and they've
great.
built 4 offices up there, and we're going to keep our training room there as well for post-release people.
Good. Well,
and hopefully we're going to get eventually Jesse some help for post-release. I may have to
that's
write a
great.
grant for it,
Yeah.
but I'm certainly grateful to the county commission and to our county mayor. The other day when we went before him, we had they were very supportive, and I certainly want to say thanks to Mayor Alexander and the county commission and the county finance people for what they're doing. I know they
great.
work very hard to try to find the dollars to support these programs, and we certainly are appreciative, because you don't take things like that for granted.
No, I know back when I was there, this is about 2012, it's been a few years, you were having to go get the inmates from the jail and bring them down, and it was just, but you did it. I mean, it was sort of a cumbersome thing, but y'all had it worked out where you did it, and so I'm sure that's great. That'll be great.
Well, we're going, as a result of all of this, we're getting enough staff on board now. We're hoping to assess almost everyone that comes in that jail. We're now creating a work release program.
Oh, that's great.
That will be increased. They've always done a little bit of work release, where they can, while they're in jail, they have the classes to know what to do. If they're a good candidate for work release, we'll put them out there on the job. They'll be saving enough money to pay their fines and have a little money in their pocket.
That's great.
Sending home
That's great.
to their families. And that's one of the programs. I'm also working with the TCAT about what's the possibility. We had a 3-year grant we were actually doing, college training up until December. We're hoping to get that started, and we'll be able to do that at where we currently are.
Yeah.
But being up in the jail is going to allow us to triple more than triple, because we're going to be trying to serve, really look at most everyone. There's going to be a few that we won't be able to take out of the cells, especially those that might be of harm to themselves or others.
Yeah.
But otherwise, we're increasing those numbers. That's what we've been preparing for.
Christine. Yeah, that's great. And when I got my mind on re-entry in grants this morning, I remember reading when I started to work for you. I thought, well, what's this all about anyway? And so I looked back at I think then the big grant was called a Second Chance Grant.
We're still
And
actually
you're still
getting
at
those.
that, and I looked back at some point, and that was that was a bipartisan bill passed by Congress way back. Everybody recognized that reentry is not only important, but just critical. And
As a result of that, Nancy, we've brought into this county between $4 and $5 million in grants alone that went in the form of wages and supplies and serving people.
that's great, Christine.
That we actually have brought in grants. They're out there. Our wages are just very mediocre. They're not high dollar. I don't believe in that. If I can, and we're trying to make sure that this county is getting their fair share. And Second Chance has been very good to us. In fact, the one that included myself that's working on now, of course, we don't have any benefits, but that is 3 years, 500,000 over a 3-year period of time.
Well, good deal.
And we're going to make it pay.
And of course, you've written those grants that you can probably almost do it blindfolded, I guess. Do you have to write a new grant every year?
No.
or it goes on?
We did. We only got one time. It was 1 year, but now we're getting
You're getting, that's
3
great.
years.
Because that's a real big job. And of course, you talk about letters. I remember all these letters you'd have to get from employers. And what's that word that they use that they want you to collaborate, or they want you collaborating with community people and
Partners.
yeah. And it's really involved thing. And talk about somebody that knows how to work with other people, and you'd make a great politician, Christine. We need to take about 10 years off your age and send you up to Congress.
Well, you got to work with people, and you got to work with all party lines,
right,
and
work
you
with
can't get.
The goal out
wanna
there,
get right.
yeah, like y'all do, to help people and not necessarily a party.
It's not about us.
That's
It's about
right.
it's about the people we serve.
And just thank you again for what you do.
Well, you're more than welcome.
We're about out of time, Karen. I guess we are. Thank y'all for listening.
And you have been listening to Common Sense Matters here on WCDT. 2 minutes after the hour of 9 o'clock, and we're going to join our regular scheduled programming.
Help balance things out, and that is